That's all coming up at 10 o'clock tonight. Now it's just about 20 to 10, and throughout the week around this time we're hearing the results of the latest round of pairings in the Adopt a Composer scheme. Adopt a Composer is run by the Making Music organisation in partnership with Sound and Music and in association with BBC Radio 3. The scheme pairs up amateur performing groups with a composer, and over the course of 1 year they write, rehearse and premiere a new piece of music. The first of last year's premieres took place back in April and gave some younger players the chance to get to grips with a new work.
My name is Peter Hanson and I'm the conductor of the Chiltern Youth Chamber Orchestra, better known as Psycho.
My name's Alison Willis and I'm the composer of the piece called Journeys that is being performed and premiered by Psycho.
My name's Joe Savage, I'm the leader of Psycho.
We definitely wanted the piece to have a wider resonance, and the idea we came up with again fairly quickly and fairly unanimously was something to do with the ongoing refugee crisis. I met the orchestra for the first time in October. We made some extraordinary sounds on the strings.
We were experimenting with some weird pizzicato and some tremolos all the way up and down the strings and some cluster chords, which was very strange. It's nice to see them incorporated into the piece in such a wonderful way.
I got some feedback from the players in the orchestra about any ideas they might have about the refugee crisis, and then I started putting the ideas together for the piece. So it's a real privilege for a composer to be able to take ideas to an ensemble, try them out and then get feedback. And I think the thing I'm probably most pleased with this piece is that all the ideas in the piece really have come from the players in the orchestra.
We had kind of survey sheets to fill out and we expressed individual views on what we wanted to see in the piece. So I suggested kind of some Western themes brought in to symbolise the Western involvement in the crisis. That was my personal suggestion, and everyone had their own views, and it was reflected in the piece.
We've enjoyed it. It's 3 movements, and each movement's got a different atmosphere and a different mood. But a lot of the time there's a sort of hint of Syrian and Arabic harmonies and intonation and rhythms. Some very, very beautiful moments and some very wild and angry moments. We've really enjoyed sort of getting into this piece and trying to work out how to bring it off.
We're not very familiar with the kind of intonation, especially with the Arabic kind of harmonies. The beginning of the piece is in 11/8, which presents some difficult rhythms, and the third movement includes some quarter tones, which are something we haven't really experienced very much in our kind of musical playing. And some of the solos that I play and the other leads of the sections play are very challenging, but they add to the piece very nicely. The process of spotting adjustments to be made and working together to make the piece better for all of us. It's definitely a group effort from the first rehearsal to the last.
There are two main ideas that came out of the feedback from the surveys and the questionnaires I gave out at rehearsals after we'd workshopped pieces that drove the piece forward. I found I was quite struggling because a lot of music I've written recently has been choral music or music theatre based, and I found not having any words to hang the piece on I was actually finding quite difficult, somewhat to my surprise. And the two things that came out quite early on were this idea of a programmatic piece. The first movement would be leaving, the second movement the journey, the third movement arriving, and loads of the players in the orchestra had very similar views on that. And also the idea of the individuals within this mass of people who are collectively known as a refugee crisis, hence the solos within the orchestra. The other huge influence was, I don't know who it was in the orchestra, but someone sent me a link to a speech by Benedict Cumberbatch that he made at the end of every performance of Hamlet, as far as I'm aware, where he spoke about the Syrian refugee crisis and raised money for Save the Children. And he quoted from a poem by a young Somali-British poet called Wasan Shira. The poem's called Home, and I think it's extraordinary. And reading that poem gave me words to hang the piece on, and actually the names of the movements come from that poem.
No one leaves home unless home is the mouth of a shark. You only run for the border when you see the whole city running as well.
You have to understand that no one puts their children in a boat unless the water is safer than the land.
I don't know what I've become, but I know that anywhere is safer than here.
We thought we'd have a go at Adopt a Composer, and then we were awarded a composer. Then we met the composer, Alison, and then we started to create the piece. So this is how it works, and it's been brilliant. We've enjoyed the connection, and I think the piece is a really interesting piece, and I think it will live, and it will go on to be played by other ensembles, I think, as well.
That was Journeys by Alison Willis, performed by the Chiltern Youth Chamber Orchestra, or PSYCHO, conducted by Peter Hanson, who you heard talking at the end there. That was one of 6 world premieres given last year as part of the Adopt a Composer scheme. Incidentally, the composer of that piece, Alison Willis, has recently been selected by the John Armitage Memorial Organisation to have one of her pieces performed at a concert on March 23rd at St Bride's Church in London. And if you'd like to hear any of the Adopt a Composer pieces in full, then you can do so at the Making Music website in their Adopt a Composer area, where there is also information on how to apply to the scheme. And I'll be featuring another of the pairings after tomorrow night's Radio 3 in concert. Matthew Sweet is here with Free Thinking in just under a quarter of an hour.